eddiro lyo ng'ewagiddwa. Bw'osomeseza omwana wo mu masomero ga Giant Schools omuli kampasi y'Ebombo Kalule n'ey'e Kabalagala toba na bweraliikirivu bwonna olw'omusingi okutambuzibwa ebyenjigiriza n'ensoma y'abayizi ey'omulembe. Mu masomero gaffe gano gonna tusomesa arts ne sciences okuviira ddala ku siniya esooka okutuuka ku siniya ey'omukaaga nga tusomesa abaana okuviira ddala ku mutendero gwa kindergarten okutuuka ku kibiina eky'omusanvu. Tulina abasomesa abakugu mu kubangula abaana n'okubateekateeka. Ebibiina abaana mwe basomera eby'omulembe omuli buli kimu ekikwata ku ebyo bye basoma, ebisuula ebyazimbibwa obulungi, ebigazi ate nga biyonjo. Okumanya ebisingawo tukubire ku nnamba z'essimu ez'owammanga.
Yes, my dear viewer, I welcome you to our lesson. That is mathematics. Yeah, I appreciate whoever has endeavored to see that he does the right thing as far as academics are concerned. With the issues of academics, you don't joke with them. So, they normally say, failure to prepare, you prepare to fail. All along I've been telling candidates and all our learners that we are likely to open this year. However much we may do exams a little bit late, but this year we are likely to open. Now come on 15th October, we are going to be in class. And you will need to prove what you have been doing all along. If you have been just sleeping, you are going to sleep on a paper very soon. And it's now the highest time you are going to start working. You get a paper, you start trembling, because you are not prepared. But if you have been always tuned to BBS TV, my dear, you are going to smile with the paper. So yeah, this is what I love. So, whoever has managed to do what you are supposed to do, they are going to achieve success. I'm not going to overtalk about it, but I know you are likely to do very well. We are looking at fractions, and the subtopic we dealt with last time was direct proportions. And we looked at various examples, which we calculated, and everybody was well contented. Today, we are supposed now to look at indirect proportions. Now, we can call it indirect proportions or inverse proportions. With direct proportions last time, we said when one quantity increases, the other one also increases. That was with direct proportion. When one quantity increases, the other quantity also increases. And it is now the opposite, the inverse of direct proportion. That's why we can call it inverse proportion or indirect proportion, the opposite of direct proportions. With the indirect proportion, when one quantity increases, the other one reduces. And when the other one reduces, this one increases. Now, with words, you may not exactly maybe understand. Some may understand, but others like actions. That's when you happen to pick the real meaning. So I'm trying to mean with indirect proportion, when one quantity increases, the other one decreases. And when the other one decreases, the other one increases. How? With the indirect proportions, we deal with workload. Workload. Work. Amount of work. In fact, we deal with the amount of work. We can talk about number of workers and the time they take to do the work. With workload and the time, we can measure time in terms of days, hours, minutes, and so on. So, when you are doing work, you realize that when you're one person doing the work, you may take a little bit longer than when you are many. When you are doing work. For instance, I can pose a question to you. If you want to do your work and it is done very fast, if you want your work to be done very fast, what do you do? Do you put few workers or you put many workers? So this time I want the answer to be either few or many. If you want your work to be done very fast, quickly, for instance, maybe it is a classroom. You want a classroom to be swept very fast. Do you put one child or one learner to sweep, or you put many? You see that? So, if you want your work to be done very fast, maybe sweeping the class, you have come out of class, you need the work to be done very fast so that by the time you enter, the classroom is very smart. Not only a classroom, but just work. It can be sweeping the compound, like that. So you may need to put many so that the work is done very fast. But when you put one, that person will take longer than to do that work as compared to when you put many. So that is what we are looking at. Indirect proportions. We deal with workload. Number of workers, the time they take, like that. So you may happen to understand it better when you are looking at perhaps examples. Due to time, allow me give you some of the examples I've prepared so that you can really see what we mean by indirect proportion. I will put it here. Yes, here are some of the examples I've tried to jot down for you. They will help us know what indirect proportion is all about. Yes. Indirect or inverse proportions. Let's take a look at number one. Let's look at our number one. 6 men take 8 days to slash a compound. 6 men take 8 days to slash a compound. Part A of this question. How many men would be needed to slash the same compound in 3 days? Analyze the question. Read it for the second time. 6 men. I told you first understand the statement. 6 men take 8 days. When they are 6, when you have 6 men, they can take 8 days to finish up the compound, to slash your compound. 6 men can take 8 days to slash a compound. Now the question is, how many men would be needed to slash the same compound in 3 days? You see? When you have 6 men, for them they take 8 days. But now, if you want that compound to be slashed in only 3 days, how many men will you put there? So with such a question, they will not tell you that that is indirect question. No, they will just bring for you a question. They can't show that we are now learning indirect proportions. Or you are going to answer in form of indirect proportion. The question will be just open like that. Now, we start planning for the working. The working must be planned in accordance to the space even you have. This space will be enough for me to calculate that number. Part A, how many men would be needed to slash the same compound? The same compound in only 3 days now. In only 3 days. When they are 6, they take 8 days to slash the compound. Now, if you want that compound to be finished in only 3 days, how many men are you going to require? Are they going to be many or few? Yes, it's 3 days. 3 days only. Now, if you are to finish this compound in only 3 days, how many men are you going to require? Are they likely to be more than 8? Or more than 6? Oh. So, the first step, my dear viewer, you must take is what is needed. What is needed must be on your right. Then what you are given must be on the left. Since they are asking how many men, after the word many, how many men? How? There are many needed. Men on the right, which faster. You don't even need to waste time there. How many what? Men. Put men this side. Men. This side. They are the ones needed. How many? Then this side, they were talking about the days. Days this side. You must be very careful. They may talk about days, hours, minutes. So you must be well acquainted. You must know the units which they are talking about. So they are talking about the days and the men. So how many men? Okay, men on the right. You now start. Days this side. So you go back to your first statement. 6 men. Take 8 days. Okay? Now, since I've started with days, because they want men, I will say 8 days. You see? Don't again write this side 6 men. No. You need to organize your work. 8 days. 8 days. I can say require. Oh, need. Need is shorter. Another word for require. 8 days. Needed. In fact, I'm writing in short form. Others can even put an arrow. But I'm saying 8 days are needed. So to finish this work by 6 men. 8 days need 6 men. Write that, I've just interchanged. Why? I'm finding men. Men on the right, days on the left. So 8 days need 6 men. For the compound to be slashed in only and only 8 days, they need 6 men. So 8 days are needed, by 6 men to slash the compound. So 8 days need, in short like that, 8 days need 6 men. Then, whenever you are working out such questions, you first find for one before you find for many. If 8 days need 6 men, for that work to be done in 8 days, you need the 6 men. What if you need that work to be done in only 1 day? You see? What if you need this work to be done in only 1 day? 1 day needs, 1 day needs, you don't find for 3 days before you find for 1. You get the point? Yes. 1 day needs. Now, if you want this compound to be done in only 1 day, how many men are you going to require? That is now why I was telling you. When we did indirect proportions, when the time decreases, the other side increases. For instance, when you decrease the time, you must increase the money power. Now, the labor force, can I call it labor force in SST? Now, if you want this work to be done in only 1 day, in only 1 day, not all the 8 days, no. If you want this work, this compound to be slashed in only 1 day, will you need many of you? You see? You have a bigger compound, you want it to be slashed in only 1 day. Are you going to need many people or many men or few men so that the compound is slashed in only 1 day? So, if you want your compound to be slashed in only 1 day, not all the 8 days, you will need more people. You will need more men. So, if you want your compound to be slashed in only 1 day, you will need more men. So you will have to get the number of days there. You multiply it by the 6 men. You see that? So you will need more. And when you need more, you will multiply. You multiply. 8 days, you multiply it by the 6 men. So within 1 day, if you want your compound to be slashed within 1 day, you can multiply this and you get the answer. Meaning you will need around 48 men. If you want your compound to be done in only 1 day, you need around 48 men. Why? When you multiply 8 by 6, don't you get 48? If you are not very good at multiplying, you can first keep it there. So since 1 day needs around 48 men, or 6 multiplied by 8 multiplied by the 6 men, what if now this work needs to take some period of time, like 3 days, like 3 days? You see that? So this step, before I go to the third step here, I'm meaning when the time decreases, if you want then the work to be done within a shorter period of time, you need to employ many people. I think that one is clearer. If you want your work to be done within a very short period of time, you will need to have many people. That is why with 1 day, you will need more men. And here you need to multiply. So one day will need this. Now suppose you say, now this work should now be done in around 3 days. You see? Now, suppose, because according to the question they are saying, how many men would be needed to slash the same compound in 3 days? Now these men should be of equal strength. Should be of equal strength. So, you will write now, after finding for one day, you will now have to say, what if 3 days? If this work is to be done now in 3 days, meaning as you increase the time, you see, the labor force, the money power decreases. Because now, this is now be 3 days. Here, in 1 day, you'll need very many. Now, in 3 days, you will need not as many as for those of 1 day. So, with the 3 days, they will need to share. They will need to share the work, which is done by 1 day, by this many. 3 days need, now with the 3 days, the work must be shared. For 1 day, the work which was done by all these men in 1 day will be shared in 3 days. So you can write 48, divide it into 3. Or you can still maintain 8, multiply it by 6 men. Then you share it into 3. The number of men needed in 1 day, you divide them into 3 because the days are now supposed to be 3. I don't know whether that one is going to be well understood. In 1 day, you need this number of men. It can be 48. You can just write 48 if you don't mind. What if now, if this work is to be finished in 3 days? So, the men who are needed for 1 day will be divided into 3. That is why it is like that. I hope the point is clear. If it's not clear, maybe we shall look at the next number. However, the major issue is here, knowing what is needed. What is needed should be on the right, and what you are finding on the left. First find for 1. That is a unitary method. Unitary. First find for 1 before you find for many. So with 1 day, if the work is to be finished within only 1 day, you will need many people. But now when it's to be finished in 3 days, at least you will need fewer people. There will be few. That's why we divide by 3. So we can divide by 3 here. When we are multiplying, we can easily divide, but not when we are adding. When we are adding, you will divide both. Or else, you will have to first multiply, get 48, divide by 3 at once, and it can work. By 3 once, 3 can go into 6. How many times? 3 goes into 6 2 times. Then here we are left with 8 multiplied by 2 men. And this will be 16 men. And that is our final answer. Why? For this work to be finished within 3 days, you will need 16 men. But if this work was to be finished within 1 day, you would have required 48 men. 1 day. It would require 48 men. Here I didn't multiply by, because it would be easier for me to divide. However, maybe I can. Can I just rub there and I show you still the same thing? Or you can multiply, get 48. When you divide it by 3, you'll still get 16 men here. You'll still get 16 men. I think that is a bit clearer. If you are not picking something there, then I think you can look at the second number and we see whether you will pick it. You know, the more you do practice, the better you become. Practice makes perfect. You get used You know, when something's done for the first time, it may be a little bit hard for you, but when you get used to it, it becomes a walkover. So you will just enjoy it. So you can, we are going to look at the second number, and we see how it moves. I can now erase this work. Part B. Okay, they need part B. Now with part B, allow me start so that you can maybe compare. Let me work out from a little bit down here. Then as space gets finished, I'll rub and I move up. Now, part B of the question says, how long? Yes. The question is, how long? What does long need? The first thing I told you is, you must first know what is needed D, so that is put on the right-hand side. How long will 12 men? How long? Now, since we're talking about 6 men, it take 8 days. Okay, how long? They need the number of days. And therefore, I will put days on my right. So how long? They want days. I am not going to write long on the other side. How long? They are talking about now days. Days on my right. Then men on my left hand side. Remember, here they wanted the number of men. You can imagine what we did. That's why I wanted you to compare the two. How long they want now, the period of time, the number of days. So you go back to your statement. 6 men take 8 days to slash a compound. Okay? 6 men take 8 days. So I will write here 6 men. Don't mix up. 6 men take. I'm not going to write here require. Take. Others even use an arrow. 6 men take. How many days? 8 days. They take 8 days to slash the compound. What if 1 man? Yes. If 6 men take 8 days to slash the compound, what if, suppose you leave that, not 1 man, suppose, see, suppose you want that compound to be done by only and only 1 man. Now I ask you a question. If that compound is left for only 1 man, will he take more period of time, or he will take less period of time? You may not have understood it. The question is, 6 men take 8 days. Well, when they are 6, they take 8. Of the same strings, masicula men, 6 of them, they take 8. Suppose you leave that to work for only 1 man. For only 1 man. Will he take little period of time, or he will take longer period of time? Of course, if he's only 1, he will take a longer period of time because it's 1. When there are many, when you are many, you finish the work very fast. But when you remain 1 person, you will take a longer period of time as compared to when you are many. And therefore here we shall say 1 man takes. 1 man, how long will? Okay, 1 man will. Let me now state it like that because it is in the future tense. How long will? 1 man will take. 1 man will take. Now, if the worker is left for 1 man, 1 man will take more days than when there are many. That's why we shall now multiply 6 multiplied by 80 days. 6 men take 80 days. When there are 6 men, for them they take 80 days. Now, when you remain alone, my dear, you will take longer. And this will be, when you multiply this, it will be around 48 days. If you are left one to do the work, you will take 48 days. Let me even put it. This time, I can put it here. Put one man will take 48 days. One man will have to take 48 days. Suppose, how many were they? 12 men. After finding for one man. When he's one, when the manpower decreases, the time increases. That's what I told you. That is indirect proportions. When the manpower decreases, the time increases. And when the time increases, the manpower reduces. Indirect proportions. So one man takes 48 days. Suppose there are now 12 men. Let me write it here, this side. Suppose there are now 12 men. 12 men take, or will take, because the question is in the future tense. 12 men will take, space, will take, they will now have to share the work, the days for one man. They will now have to share the days for one man. So when they are 12, for them they will take, get the 48 days, you divide them into 12, they will share. Now those are days, but the space is finished. So what you are getting are days here. So you can divide by 12 once. 12 goes into 48. How many times? 12, 24, 36, 48. Try to find out here. Division. 48 divided by 12. You can even start reducing by 2, 6 by 2, like that. 24 by 2, until you reduce to the lowest terms. So we are just having 48 divided by 12. You can list the multiples of 12. 12 times 1, 12. 12 times 2, 24. 12 times 3, 36. 12 times 4, 48. Okay? 12 times 1, 12. 24, 36, 48. It will be 4. By 12 once, by 12, 4. So this one will give us, this one gives us 4 days. Don't again write here men. That is another issue. Don't, people misfire from there. These are 4 days. Don't again come and put men. How long? How long will 12 men take to finish the same job at the same rate? Therefore, 12 men will take 4 days. And that is your final answer. 12 men will have to take 4 days. Yes, that is it. I hope the point has been driven home. If not driven home, let's look at example number 2. Maybe you'll pick an idea. But practice. After here, practice. Take some time in the evening, go through what you did today. The moment you take long without going through, you forget. A man is born forgetful. You must know that. But you need to remind yourself. Remind yourself so that you don't forget. Let's look at number 2. And you will allow me a race here. Excuse me. Our number 2. Our number 2, what does it require? 6 men take 16 days. I used days only. Okay, they can set for a question when it is having hours, minutes, but don't just put days because we have looked at days only. 6 men take 16 days to paint a house, okay? 6 men take 16 days to paint a house. Hey, okay. How many more? How many what? How many more men? Okay. What is needed? More men. How many more men are needed to paint the same house in 4 days? Yeah? Let me hope the question is very clear. I've already known what is needed. They want more men who are needed to paint the same house in 4 days. Yeah. Okay. 6 men take 16 days. 6 men take 16 days to paint a house. How many more men are needed to paint the same house in 4 days? Yeah, I'm giving it days. They need more men. What to do? You plan. You need to plan. Since 6 men take 16 days, how many more men? What is needed? More men. I will have, I first write men this side. How much they need more men? Now this way, I'll put days. Now the question is very clear. Like what? It's very clear. I will not compare it. Now, how many more men are needed? More men are needed to paint the same house in 4 days. Now this one you must be very sober. They are saying how many more men? How many more men? If they say more men, more, meaning there are some who are there. More men. Oh, we had 6 men already. Now how many more are needed to see that they only do that work in only 4 days? Check here. Here 6 men take 16 days. When there are 6, for them they take 16 days. Suppose we need this work to be done in only 4 days. In only 4 days, now you check. Meaning the period of time must reduce. These days are very many. At least we better employ many people so that they finish the work in only 4 days within a little period of time. And as I told you, if we reduce the days, then the manpower must increase. See that? When there are many, they will finish the work very fast. So, what we shall do, we shall first need to know the number of men who are needed to first do the work in only 4 days. In only 4 days. Then we shall find how many more men. Since we already have 6 men, we shall have to find how many more are required to see that they finish the work in only 4 days. If point not picked, we shall understand it during the explanation here. Now, since men are needed, days this side, I go back to my question. 6 men take 16 days. Okay. Then, since days are this side, I'll write 16 days. They need 16 days, need 6 men. For the work to be finished within 16 days, you only need 6 men. That's how I have to write it in brief. I'm not going to write many words so that you end up confusing yourself and you even get lost. 16 days, need 6 men. What if, as I said, what if one day Yes. What if, when you want this work to be done in only 1 day? Yes. 1 day needs, you first find for one before you find for many. If 16 days need 6 men, what if you need this work to be done in only 1 day? 1 day. 1 day needs, you will now get 16. You multiply it by the 6 men. Yeah. Like that. 1 day will need many men so that they can finish the work very fast. Suppose the work is to be done now in 4 days. Yeah, the time has increased. Now here we'll need a little bit fewer men. Because for 1 day, they will need this. Now, if there are 4 days, the labor must, the manpower must now decrease. That's why I said, as you increase the time, if you increase the time, this way decreases. The labor, the manpower decreases. I think when I talk of manpower, I'm not meaning any other manpower. I mean the labor force. The labor force. 4 days need. 4 days need. When you can multiply this, get the answer and divide by 4. Or you can first keep this the way it is. It will be 16 multiplied by the 6 men. Then you divide it into 4. They will have to share these 6 men. The number of men here must be shared into 4. For 1 day was that. Now, since there are 4 days, we shall get the number of men needed for 1 day. We divide them into 4. I think that is very clear. By 4 once, 4 cannot divide the 6, but it can go into 16. I divide this 16 by 4. Multiplied by 6 men, we shall have to get 24 men. Take care. That is not the final answer. Because they said how many more men are needed to paint the same house in 4 days. This means you just first find the number of men needed to finish the work in 4 days. You first find the number of men needed to finish the work in 4 days. Now, if 4 days need 24 men, remember, 16 days needed only 6 men. If the work was to be finished in 16 days, you need 6 men. Now, if the work is to be finished in only 4 days, it only needs 24 men. Now, how many more men are needed to see that they finish the work in 4 days? Since we already had 6 men, and for this work to be finished in only 4 days, it needs 24. We shall need to just find more men needed. Because already 6 men were there. More men needed. More men now. And even just write it there. More men needed. Because if the work is to be done in 4 days, we shall need 24 men. 4 days need 24 men to finish that work. But since we had already 6 men, we shall have to get the difference. Get the 24, take away the 6 who were already there. These are, now our answer here will be more men. More men. Why? It is because Here, when you subtract, it will be what? 24 is it? 18. 18 more men. I hope I have not misfired anywhere. One day needs all this men. 4 days will need to finish that work in only 4 days. You'll need 24 men. Now, since if you are to finish the work in 4 days, you need 24 men. But now, already you had the 60. That's why they're asking how many more men are needed to be added on the 6 men to finish the work in only 4 days. So we shall need 18 more men. Who should get added to the 6 men who are there? And they finish the work in only 4 days. I hope I'm clear. Since 6 men were there, we need 18 more men to be added on the 6 who are there to make 24, so that they can finish the work in only 4 days. If that is not clear, my dear, I don't know what to do, but that is what you need. You need to first find the number of men needed to finish the work in 4 days. After finding the number of men needed to finish the work in 4 days, compare. Since for 4 days they need 24. But already there is a number you had. So get the number for the 4 days, take out the one you had at first, so that you can know what is supposed to be added on the number which is already there. That's why you subtract, to know the more who are supposed to add it to the already which is there to make 24. So when you get 18 plus the 6, you get 24, so that the work is finished in only 4 days. Jesus Christ. Our time is almost there, but I would request, I would request that you try this number 4, so that when I come, we shall share about it. Because number 3, it's number 3. 4 boys can weed a garden in 5 days. 4 boys can weed a garden in 5 days. How many more boys of the same strength are required to finish the same work in only 2 days? In only 2 days. 4 boys can weed a garden in 5 days. How many more boys of the same strength are required to finish the same work in 2 days? Otherwise, that is that. You try it. If you get the answer, 0784 79 94 92 or 0754 320 971. This will be my number. In case there is something we have missed out, contact me. We shall have to share it accordingly. Otherwise, now, maybe before I complete, this is mine. I've been in Mulago for some 4 days. I have my dad in Mulago. He is suffering. He's supposed to be operated very soon. So I've spent like 4 days in the hospital there. And I would like to appreciate the doctors who have helped me to see that my father comes to life. They saved my father's life. That is Dr. Jombe, Dr. Awori, Rogers, Dr. Hassa. They are trying to see that my father recovers, but he needs an operation very soon. So I request your prayers so that my father recovers. However, they told me they can take him to Zambia and they may need like 25 million. But when it's done from Mulago, I will buy only the things which may cost me like 7 million, and he's operated from there, but only on Fridays. So for any advice he has, he cannot swallow food with ease. That is his major issue. They told me he has like cancer of esophagus, which can be operated and scooped out and comes to life. So you pray for me. You can advise me, call me on my numbers. You advise me on the easiest way, because it is a tough time I'm going through. Even money, they want a lot of money for buying requirements, but their services, they told me it is for free. But I may need like 7 million from Lago, but outside, like Zambia, I may need like 25 million to see that my father's life is rescued. Otherwise, I have my plot around the Sisa at the sub-county, Kajians Town Council. If you can help me to raise money, because I don't want people to cheat me, because I have a problem. It is the only thing that can save me. You can call me on my number, and if you want a plot, it's 50 by 100 at Kajians Town Council, at Sisa sub-county. We can talk and we see. Or you can bail me out on my numbers. We can share more. Thank you so much for listening to me. Otherwise, I wish you well. We meet on Monday again. Sabasaja Kabaka, Awangale.
Somera muddiiro lyo ng'ewagiddwa. Bw'osomeseza omwana wo mu masomero ga Giant Schools omuli kampasi y'ebbombo Kalule n'ey'ekabalagala gy'oba na bweraliikirivu bwonna olw'omusingi okutambuzibwa ebyenjigiriza n'ensoma y'abayizi ey'omulembe. Mu masomero gaffe gano gonna tusomesa arts ne sciences okuviira ddala ku siniya esooka okutuuka ku siniya ey'omukaaga, nga tusomesa abaana okuviira ddala ku mutendero gwa kindergarten okutuuka ku kibiina eky'omusanvu. Tulina abasomesa abakugu mu kubangula abaana n'okubateekateeka. Ebibiina abaana mwe basomera eby'omulembe omuli buli kimu ekikwata ku ebyo bye basoma, ebisuula ebyazimbibwa obulungi, ebigazi ate nga biyonjo. Okumanya ebisingawo tukubire ku nnamba z'essimu ez'owammanga. Okimanyi nti osobola okutonera abaagalwa abo Airtel